So today we're going to take a look at the newer Land Rover, Range Rover style arms, bushes, full suspension works that we currently sell. So we've got a range of different arms here on the table, from the front lower control arms, which are the biggest failure bushes on these cars, to front upper wishbones, and then a rear track control arm as well on the upper of the rear. So one of the biggest bushes, one of the most complex bushes in this whole entire range is on the front lower arm here, this one here, and it's the one that actually connects to the subframe. Now this bush is a very, very heavily engineered bush from Land Rover themselves, and it fits across 3 different models. So it fits across the Discovery 5, the Range Rover L405, and the Range Rover Sport, the L494. So if we take a look at this OEM bush here, we've cut it open so we could look inside it and see what was going on. So what we've done is we split the steel outer shell, and inside it we have an aluminium bush which has been bonded in. So this actually comes in 2 halves. And this is why we say it's a very complex design. So there it is, it's a cast aluminium tube in there, either side, which comes together, and they shroud it in this steel shield to keep everything together. Interestingly, there is a little plastic, almost nylon ring, which sits in between here and acts as a radial buffer, so that the stiffness of the arm is very, very high for the size of it. Now this bush here, it goes through a massive amount of rotation on the vehicle, mostly because of the vehicle's air suspension. So when we have the arm set up like this in the vehicle, and we set it up at ride height, it has to go full bump down to full droop. And when you look at the rotation in this bush, it is a hell of a lot. It's a really big rotational force that goes through it. And what we can find on vehicles that are especially heavier, so the bigger Range Rovers, going through any sort of green lane and where they've got a lot of suspension travel a lot of the time, is this bush will want to try and rip out the rubber. It's a very small amount of rubber in there, split in half again. So it's a lot of rotational forces to go through such a small amount of rubber, hence, it does fail. So our solution that we looked at, and we went through multiple different solutions, we used different vehicles, we used our distributors to look at these for us, and we went through so many trials with it, and we finally came up with this. And we used a gentleman who had highly modified his Discovery 5 to finally come up with this solution, which is the hardest wearing option we have. And this actually ends up as a bearing itself, so it can take all that rotational travel through the suspension without any issue, because the actual inner tube here is spinning inside. Now there's still polyurethane blocks inside there, which still allow for some sort of dampening vibrations, but the actual bush itself is very, very stiff, just like this one, so you keep the control of the vehicle as you would want. So on this here, this is it fully assembled, and it comes with 2 polyurethane caps that are fitted on after it's pressed into the arm, and that acts as seals to stop any dirt and grime getting down and into the bush. So they do come with fitting instructions. It's just a case of pushing the old bush out, pushing the new one in, and away it goes. Another big failure on these vehicles is this lovely, what they would call banana arm, or that's most what's common in the industry, and it's a very, very large, complex bush at the front. Now this bush takes a lot of loading through acceleration, braking and cornering forces, and you will find this starts to fail anywhere between 50,000 miles upwards, and the bush just starts to deteriorate because it gets so much movement within it. So our solution for this is a very, very big top hat bush, which we have some of here. So we have these, so these have a bonded inner tube and encapsulated steel washer, and 2 of these get pressed from either side to form one large bush. Now having that bonded in tube just keeps everything nice and tight in there, and it means all the rotation is forced through the material itself, and that's where polyurethane comes into its own. We get the extra longevity, and we shouldn't be seeing these kind of arm failures again. Just a quick run through the other bushes we do. We have front upper control arms Now we have one of these which covers the Disco 5 and both Range Rovers. We actually do have a model which has been released for the new Defender as well, which is yeah, a newer bush we've just launched. And then the rear upper arm here, one of the nicest and easiest fitments is 2 shaped top hats and a loose steel sleeve which is pressed in. So one of the last things to mention is we see a lot of, which is on the vehicles fitted with ACE, so the active cornering stuff, is the anti-roll bar bushes. They're large bushes which go through a lot of force, and we find a lot of customers need to replace these, and we obviously sell polyurethane upgrades, keeping them still soft enough to make sure the ride is comfortable, but just giving you the extra longevity that the car needs.